The Defend Our Democracy campaign today launches Anti-Corruption Week. In fact, this campaign is supported by anti-apartheid struggle stalwart Cheryl, Carolus, as well as Reverend Chikane. The campaign is hoping to inspire activism by civil society to demand accountability from municipalities. For more on this initiative, let's bring in Neeshan Balton, who's an executive member of the Defend Our Democracy campaign. He joins us via our video link from Johannesburg. Neeshan, it's great to see you. Thanks for making time to speak to us. So this commemoration, the initiative, comes at quite a sobering time. In fact, just yesterday I was reading a statement from Athol Williams, another whistleblower who's really spoken out about his experience. In fact, he's gone to the lengths of leaving the country because he doesn't feel safe after speaking out. Sort of the kind of reflection you don't want, given how many people you still are hoping will come forward to speak out against corruption.
No, precisely. And I think Athol would know best what his own situation is and why he's taken this particular route. But I think when you consider what happened to somebody like Babita Deokaran and a number of others, I think his position is understandable. And I'm hoping that, he has all his plans in place. And once he is out safely, he will be able to share more details about the specifics of the threats that he has encountered. I think it's an indictment on the fact that somebody like him would prefer leaving than working with the authorities who really have a responsibility to keep whistleblowers safe. But I think it points to one of the biggest weaknesses in the fight against corruption, that being the issues of whistleblowers, the lack of support, and the seeming inability to protect those who require protection.
He says he feels let down by government. Is that something you'd agree with?
I'm not able to hear you.
I was just saying that part of what he mentioned in a statement that he released yesterday is that he feels let down and disappointed by the government. Given what's taken place, is that a sentiment you'd agree with?
Well, as I said, I think without knowing the full details, I think in general all whistleblowers feel that the support systems need to be improved drastically. And I'm hoping that his particular case, as well as all of the others that I think many have been championing in the last year or so, will get some kind of wake-up from the authorities who have this responsibility to provide the protection and support for whistleblowers. It is a huge problem in the corruption.
Apologies there. We don't seem to have the best line to you, Neeshan Balton. I'm going to ask just one more question. Hopefully the line does bear with us. Anti-Corruption Week as an initiative perhaps might make sense, but help us connect the dots. How are you hoping this kind of initiative will lead to us really getting to the bottom of what underpins graft in our country, given how deep those roots actually lie or run?
Well, I think, what key missing ingredients in the fight against corruption is really societal mobilization. So we need to be moving people to be becoming more than just being spectators and fighting corruption on social media. We need people being active, being in the streets, being in the workshops, being in the seminars, being at all of the activations that the week would be hoping to organize across the country. We're sitting with corruption in health, in water, in energy, in municipal services. In fact, I don't think there's any sector of society or place in this country that has not been impacted on by corruption. And you've seen a lot of that in the run-up to the local government elections. The bulk of those issues that have been profiled around collapsing municipalities are directly linked to issues of corruption. Now, what do? We other than profiling it, we think that there's a need to start organizing people across the country to look at forms of action that can be taken to start holding municipalities, other government entities, private enterprises accountable. And what this week will do is to start talking about how we do that kind of work, how we organize, how we mobilize to hold those in power accountable, and what are the instruments to, in fact, do that accountability work.
Yeah, great improvement in our line. So let me slip this question in if I can. The fight against corruption means nothing in a context where people feel that speaking out doesn't lead to accountability. How much of that do you feel is taking place? And I guess how will an initiative like this try and improve that?
Well, as I indicated, I think we need to work hard at developing the systems of accountability, the actions of accountability. But I think that there are significant areas that you can show from the nuclear deal and others where actions of accountability have halted huge actions which could have corrupted this country even further. And our choice is either we be silent and watch, or we become vocal and visible and act as we begin to take on corruption, whether it is within our local street, whether it is within our local library, or whether it is against the entire municipality. And what the week will do is talk about all of the options that I think are available to people, communities, and organizations to start reporting on accountability as well as acting, reporting on corruption as well as acting against corruption, working with many others who share similar interests. Because that's the crucial point, is to tackle corruption. We need to do this in a way that brings about the biggest amounts of unity at a local as well as a national level, as well as the maximum number of organizations and community structures who would need to come into a week of action like this. So I think a lot of those details will be shared at the press briefing today.
Neeshan Balton, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. Appreciate your time this morning. Neeshan Balton is an executive member of the Defend Our Democracy campaign. Once again, thanks very much indeed.